Hi, these comments are for HD. I am Michael from OTCOnline Thank you for completing your integrated speaking practice test. So let's get right down to it. Let's see how you did on this. I'm getting the ETS rubrics ready here. Let's take a look at your message. Hi, Michael. Thank you so much for your previous feedback. This is also the answer to the third question in Dubai speaking section from TOEFLbank.com. Please listen and give me your feedback and grade. Thank you. Okay, let's do that.
Which is a psychological phenomenon. The reading discusses bandwagon effect, which is a psychological phenomenon where people ignore their belief and instincts and instead follow the majority.
Okay.
The professor gives an example about Ash's conformity experiment to illustrate this. In this experiment, they gives two groups of cards. One of the cards has one line, and the other has three lines. One of them is equal to the line in the first card, and he asked the people which line is equal in length to the first line in the first card. He asked two of his colleagues to choose the wrong answer, and then when he asked the people, they follow his colleagues and ignore their own belief and instincts. In this case, he illustrates how people followed the wrong choice because the power of the majority, rather than to follow their own instinct and belief. The reading discusses
Okay, so I'm going to put you at about 23 right now. I may adjust the score slightly. I think maybe you can talk about the reading passage a little more completely. And I think you had just some minor either delivery or language use issues in there, right? So let's see what I can uncover the second time I listen to it.
The reading discusses bandwagon effect, which is a psychological phenomenon where people ignore their beliefs.
I would say in which people ignore their beliefs, not where. So usually in which refer to non-geographical type situations. So I went to Bangkok, comma, where I blah blah blah.
Belief and instincts and instead follow the majority. The professor gives an example of
Okay, so if you wanted to, you could include just a short introduction that kind of frames your response before you move to the reading and then the listening. So the reading passage discusses a new concept called blah blah blah, and the professor in the lecture gives a couple of examples to further illustrate the idea or expand on the idea. It only takes about 5 to 7 seconds, but it kind of frames your speech, so we kind of know what's going to happen. So once you frame it like that, then we know you're going to talk about the reading and then the listening passage.
the reading discusses bandwagon effect, which is a
I would say the reading passage discusses the Ben Reagan effect.
psychological phenomenon where people ignore their belief and instincts
It's a psychological thing in
and
which
instead follow the majority. The professor gives an example about Ash's conformity experiment to illustrate this.
about the Ashes conformity experiment or about an experiment called blah blah blah.
In this experiment, they gives two groups of cards.
And in that experiment, who is they? Let's go back to that.
The professor gives an example about Ash's conformity experiment to illustrate this. In this experiment, they gives
How about they? How about
two
researchers?
groups of cards.
Two groups of cards. Make sure you make that card plural, cards.
One of the cards has one line, and the other has three lines. One of them is equal to the line in the first card, and he asked the people which line is equal in length to the first line in the first card.
Okay?
He
So a little bit of problems, yes, some problems there with pacing, right? Not 100% fluid, right? Could be a little more fluid than what you were.
he asked two of his colleagues to choose the wrong answer.
No, he has two of his colleagues who choose the wrong answer. That's the fluidity I'm looking for. So you're not quite fast enough with your speech. So to learn more about that, to get more fluid, focus a lot on thought groups and blending. That's pronunciation lessons 41 through 44.
And then when he asked the people They follow his colleagues and ignore
They follow his
their
colleagues.
own belief and instincts. In this case, he illustrates how people followed the wrong choice because the power of the majority rather than to follow their own instinct and belief. The reading discussion
Okay, so I think overall, I think my score is pretty accurate. I'm going to put you 3.0 out of 4, 23 points out of 30. So I think just a few problems with delivery, I think might be holding it back a little bit. You might be able to improve the topic development slightly. All right? Thank you. Now, if you want an idea, I just thought about this. If you want an idea on how to improve your structure a little bit, go to the speaking part of my course. There's a lesson. It's called Integrated Speaking Strategies Master Lesson. I think it's the first integrated speaking lesson. Look at that lesson, right? Go to Integrated Speaking Task 3 to look for what we call a model outline plus a model response. Now be careful when you do your outlines, make sure that you use your own outline. You don't just copy the one that I have, but that'll give you some ideas on how you can structure your response. Okay, thank you.